Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this important clip here from the head of defense from Palantir Technologies talking about companies within the U.S.
But I think it gets to this broader issue where our entire defense industrial base or our manufacturing base has been eroded ever since we let China accede to the WTO. In 1999, I think 4 of the top 10 American companies were manufacturing companies. Now none of the top 10 are. I think SpaceX is number 11. That's the closest thing. We need an industrial renaissance here in America. And particularly to do that, we need to leverage what is our asymmetric advantage. That's the weapons-grade software that we can produce. We can create a digital twin of all of our factories, from the factory to the foxhole. We can map it. We can get more efficient. We can innovate. That's sort of what SpaceX has done in many cases effectively. And that's what Palantir is doing on a daily basis.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting remarks calling for an industrial renaissance in America. And I couldn't agree anymore. We have mostly a ton of companies that are now manufacturing, producing in China. And Palantir is at the ground right now, being on the forefront for developing very important software for the government and also for private clients in America. So this is what Palantir is doing on a daily basis. I couldn't agree anymore. Now, talking about what's happened about Palantir, we're going to be getting into the news today, especially how is it being compared to some of the other SaaS stocks out there in terms of the AI race and with software, and also looking at these basically record highs that Palantir has been sitting at 42.94 for the close. We're going to be talking about what's happening in Palantir, the general market. We're seeing a little bit of some uncertainty and hesitancy with the broader market regarding interest rates, but we'll also be covering the probability of the next interest rate cut. So if you are a new or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, not a financial advisor, collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now pop it up, like I said, Palantir closing at 42.94. One thing that I am seeing is volume is coming down a little bit here. We're seeing that kind of across the market, a little bit of uncertainty and some cooling off in the market in terms of actual trading volume at 27 million here. Nonetheless, Palantir is still doing a great job consolidating at these levels. And this is a really wonderful spot for Palantir to consolidate. Looking at the historical kind of total chart of Palantir on a technical analysis perspective, some traders and analysts are starting to predict is a large cup and handle being formed, which could be incredibly bullish for Palantir, depending on what's that next leg up. Could we see $50 by the end of 2025? Because the disconnection from valuation right now is very apparent. And if we look at the options right now, lots of calls at the 43 and at the 43.5, still some puts here, decent amount of puts at the 42, a decent actual balance right now in terms of the options activity. Now, Jim Cramer coming out here with more bullish remarks on Palantir we've seen recently. Hopefully the reverse Cramer theory does not come to full fruition. But we're talking about here, Palantir Technologies won't stop because of CEO that we dream of. What does he mean there? Now, talking about what he specifically mentions, Jim Cramer said in the following in his latest program, the brief mention of Palantir is saying that they remain concerned about the lack of visibility in the business and find the current valuation indefensible. You know, the VI valuations are really high. From the bearish and the bullish perspective, everybody would agree on that. And they raise price targets here. You have someone who doesn't like the stock and it won't stop. They have software and they have Alex Karp, who is one of those CEOs that we dream of, right? Yes, Alex Karp, I think, is a wonderful CEO. We've seen him doing a wonderful job bringing a lot of exposure and expansion to Palantir, especially with the introduction of AIP last year. We've seen the commercial side of things that is continuing to soar to record highs. And what makes Palantir one of the top stocks here is basically solving the true issue with AI. And that's how do these AI systems get incorporated into these multiple different types of different niches within commercial products. And they're bringing the ontology and solving and bringing true utility with AI, with their AI boot camps, finding real use cases for all the companies that want to get involved with AI, with AIP. And you can see that coming here and being very lucrative for companies that are utilizing Palantir. For example, Airbus here accelerated A350 production by 33%. BP reduced cost by barrel by 60%. And you have all the different examples here talking about harmonization being up and how a lot of productivity and return on investment is being very lucrative for these companies that are utilizing Palantir. And on top of that, you have Palantir stock that is crushing its peers in terms of AI revenue. So being the top competitor and the leader in the SaaS industry right now, I can understand why the valuation is very high. And specifically, Palantir's AI growth is very visible. We've seen that. Just look at this bar chart right here. Looking at Palantir commercial revenue since quarter one of 2022 has really started to take off. In addition, look at this bar chart and the fact that you're seeing here the growth in U.S. commercial customers count from quarter two of 20 right here. You can see the large influx of commercial customers that are coming in. And this began to really start to take off after the introduction of AIP. You can see it started to stagnate a little bit in 2022 here, not a ton of growth, but all of a sudden we see this expansion that is really being visible. And Palantir is really king among the other SaaS stocks. Look at some of these different numbers just on the board right here. Salesforce only reported 8% year-over-year growth in quarter two and decelerating from 11% year-over-year in quarter one. You got MongoDB. They witnessed a much steeper deceleration in quarter two compared to Salesforce. And Atlas talking about here, workload struggled at the start of the year. Snowflake, another big company, AI company, products revenue growth decelerated from 34% year-over-year in quarter one to 30%. Palantir's quarterly revenue growth, you can see here, is doing fairly well, aided by strength in U.S. commercial stemming from AIP, as well as the governmental revenue that's staying on top of things, accelerating things significantly. And with earnings that will be coming up here, November 4th now, right before the election. Talk about volatile times. Earnings per share estimates, the street is giving them 9 cents earnings per share. Earnings per share revisions in the last 90 days, 11 in the bullish direction. Now let's talk about quickly here about the general markets, what the anticipations are, probabilities of the interest rate cuts, and why investors are starting to gain a little bit of hesitancy. Well, the Dow Jones, they come back here, pull back a little bit along with the other broader market indexes, S&P down a little bit, NASDAQ actually in the green. Wall Street rally is continuing to pause. And why they're talking about the Wall Street rally that's continuing to pause is because the Treasury yields are climbing above 4.2% for the first time in about 3 months. Now, commentary from the Fed also on the path of interest rate cuts has pushed yields higher. The fact that they're remaining cautious. So yields have actually increased since we saw that 50 basis point cut about a month ago. And on part of that, we have a lot of bullish economic pieces of data. Some of that increase is due to a lot of resilience that we're seeing, but is due to pessimism. The Fed won't be aggressive with rate cuts moving us forward. Now, traders are seeing a 91% chance of a quarter point cut at the next meeting ending November 7th. It's just in a few weeks here. You're also seeing home building stocks that fell about 3% today due to the fact that we're seeing rates that are starting to come back up in terms of mortgage rates and home loan rates. The market's really moved into an overbought territory, making it vulnerable to perceive anything as negative, worried that the Fed has not declared victory on inflation. So we got a little glimpse, a little sip of the fine nectar that, hey, inflation's doing really well. The soft landing going back down to a 2% target rate. Things are looking good. Interest rates coming down. But now we're seeing a lot of bullishness in the economy in terms of resilience, and the Treasury yields are growing because of that. And even the reduction in the mortgage rates that we saw are now again on the incline. You also have a lot of the companies, around one-fifth of the companies in the S&P 500 have reported results with the majority of them actually topping earnings estimates. So things are looking well. Talking about NVIDIA here, sitting at these record highs still at about 140, specifically 143 to be exact. Basically consolidation on the day. Price targets we've seen on the way from 150, 160, 190. NVIDIA, lots of insane demand. Remember, Pelosi had 500 call options. A lot of people talking about her timing in the market. What those are worth today. Just an interesting update on her position. Remember, the purchase made last year, November 22nd, 2023, for 50 call positions at $120 strike price. Now with the 10-for-1 stock split, those are 500 call options at a $12 strike price, nonetheless at $1.8 million for the initial cost. That position is now worth $6.6 million. Pelosi's up $4.8 million on just that single trade. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a wonderful day.